All right, everybody, this is KUAM News Extra. Glad to be back on the island. I was gone for a few days, but glad to be bringing to you tonight's show because we will find out about the University of Guam Theater Company's God of Carnage production. Also later in the program, we get details to the SPPC 9th Annual Drive for Charity Golf Tournament, so great to be back and talking about island sports. But leading off, as part of its first mission to perpetuate and promote the Chamorro language and culture, UOG is embarking on an oral history project focused on collecting traditional Chamorro knowledge. Joining me now are writer Victoria Leon Guerrero and historian Dr. Michael Bevacqua. Hafa to you both. Good to have you back.
Hafa day. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's been a while. So before we get into the meat of this discussion and everything, what have you guys been up to?
Oh, a lot of writing and researching. Megat and I are both working on the writing for the Guam Museum. So we've been buried in books and old documents, just getting deeper and deeper into our island's history.
Excellent.
Oh yeah, and this year is really awesome at the university because we've got the Chamorro Studies program and we're launching it this year, and so a lot of cool stuff happening at UOG.
All right, well, best of luck with that. We hope we have a bunch of students and you can come back and tell us how the classrooms are literally busting at the seams because everybody wants to study our island's rich history and heritage, and congratulations to the two of you. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about the projects that are coming on right now, and that kind of dovetails what we were just talking about. So we here as Chamorros on the island, there was that period when the archival of our people's, history and documents really didn't exist at all. So like from an academic standpoint and everything, what's been the most challenging aspect of this work?
Well, I think there are a lot of documents about our history, but largely they're told from an outsider's perspective. So, we learn about our ancient history from people that came to the island and wrote about it either from what they heard or what they saw, and so it's already removed, right, from the actual experience because it's through the lens of an outsider. And so what's exciting, I think, about what we're embarking on is that we want to tell our story from an insider's perspective. We want to tell our story based on our interpretation of these documents, but more importantly, based on the experiences of our elders and how they give their narrative, how they tell their narrative, in what ways do they choose their stories, and in what things do they think are important, and how do we take what they find important and find the history in it.
Well, Dr. Bevacqua, what are some of the themes that maybe our elders or our ancestors use, maybe thematically, or what virtues did they stress when trying to recall our people's history?
Oh, well, one of the great things about the Guam Museum, the way that it's been designed, is that we really get to use a lot of quotes from our people. And so this is one of the big things for our project, is that we want to hopefully want to get their perspective about things that have happened. And we want to use all types of song lyrics, Chamorro sayings, and that's really what we're trying to capture with this project. We're really trying to go out there and get these things that Chamorros know, especially older Chamorros, especially those that grew up in an island where speaking Chamorro was, it was the first language, it was everywhere. We're trying to get their knowledge about certain things, especially before, they pass away. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, Chamorro sayings, for example, somebody who's 60 years old, when they were growing up, their mother may have said this certain phrase over and over and over again. And that phrase may be attached to some sort of sense of older wisdom. But if he doesn't tell it to his kids or his grandkids, if he doesn't tell any of us it, then it may die with him. That phrase, which may have been said in different incarnations for generations, it may be lost.
Or it may change dramatically over time, as as most linguistics do. So, so you're saying you have to preserve the context of what the original intent was going forward.
Definitely, and then see what we can learn from it as well, and how we can contribute that to the telling of our history. So, the cool thing about the museum is that we really are telling the story of Guam, but they're also very much encouraging us to tell the story of the Chamorro people. And so what better way to do that than to actually go out and talk to people about it. And so we really hope that people will contact us, that we're going to go and we're going to also find elders, and we're going to go to community centers and work with mayors, and of course talk to our own relatives. But anybody that wants to share stories that they have from their childhood, or stories that they have about Chamorro sayings, or different little children's tales, we really encourage them to contact us, because we want to try and gather as much as we can, not just for the museum, but also to contribute to the Chamorro Studies program. Everything that we gather, all of the oral history that we collect, we're going to document, and we're going to use in publications and in different events, and we're going to find new ways to preserve it.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but it just seems like what I'm hearing right now, you guys are focusing primarily on maybe pre-war, post-war Chamorro culture. Are you even concentrating on like periods before that, maybe like pre-Spanish?
Oh. For the writing in general, we are doing sort of everything.
Okay.
But for this oral history project, it is primarily recent history.
Mm-hmm.
So stuff that happened sort of in the lives of Chamorros, up until those are in their 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s. Because, I mean, what we found, because both Victoria and I have done a lot of oral history work before, and what we found is that a lot of our people, especially those if they feel like they don't have enough education, they feel like maybe what they know or what they think isn't of any value. So they don't really feel like they have anything to offer. And so we really want to make sure that those people, because they may have, it's not just about the language, but it may have been that they were here and they observed important things, even in recent history. Gaps in our history which people sort of don't really talk about. Like one of the things which Victoria is very passionate about is researching the gangs on Guam in the 1950s and 60s. Because it was a part of the fabric of life at that time, and of course most of the people it was really how there was all these family identities, village identities, it was a way that Chamorros were also dealing with westernization, but also their sort of native pride. And most of those guys think, that can't have any relevance to Guam history. Who would want to know about that? Or maybe they're even embarrassed about the tattoos they got a long time ago.
You'd be surprised, like the things that get passed down generationally and like how they change. But tell you what, we got to go. But we would love to have you back as your research continues to progress and everything. So let's have you back on as soon as we can. We'd love to hear more about it.
Could we give our information real fast?
Sure, absolutely.
So if you'd like to share your story, you can email us at chamorrostudies@gmail.com. That's chamorrostudies@gmail.com. Or you can contact Dr. Bevacqua through the phone number 735-2800, which is the Humanities Division at UOG.
All right. Well, thanks so much. We'll talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.